Alright everybody, this is video 1.2.3. That is Unit 1, Standard 2, and Video 3. Determine the solutions to the linear equations is still the standard we're working with, so make sure that you're writing that on your notebook paper. So when you go back to review for an assessment or to work on a standard, that you know where to find the notes for that particular standard. So again, determine the solutions to the linear equations is your standard, and then in this video we're going to be talking about solving equations with fractions and decimals. So I've got two examples for us to work out here, so this shouldn't be too long at all. All right, so our first one we're going to be working with has fractions. So I'm going to write it down here. We've got 2/3 x plus 1/2 equals 4. And if we were to use the strategies that I've been giving us, or even if you were to use some strategies that you might recall from Algebra 1, I say, all right, well, the first thing we did is we multiplied by 2/3, and then we added a half, and the result was we got a 4. And working backwards, now I'm going to subtract a half, and I'm going to divide by 2/3. That's kind of ugly, and I'm not really a fan of that. So, how can I how can I do this differently? How can I make this a little bit easier on myself? And the answer is we can go ahead and try to get rid of those fractions by multiplying something that eliminates the fraction 2/3 and the fraction of 1/2, which means we're going to need to multiply by something perhaps like a 6. Now there's other options we could multiply by. We could multiply by 12 or 18, any multiple of 6 actually. But the reason we need a 6 is because I have to be able to reduce the denominator of a 3 and the denominator of a 2. So I choose 6 to do this. When you multiply the entire fraction by 6, or the entire equation by 6, you have to multiply each piece, and that includes the constant on the other side of the equal sign. So I multiply 2/3 times 6, and that gives me 4x. And then I multiply the 6 times a half, which gives me 3. And then lastly I multiply 6 times 4, which gives me 24. And now I can use my quick methods to go ahead and solve this. I start with x, multiply by 4, I add 3, and I get 24. Working in reverse, I have to subtract 3, that gives me 21. I have to divide by 4. 21 is not divisible by 4, but I can leave it as a lovely 21 over 4, and that is the answer. Pause or rewind if you need to for that problem. When you're ready, go ahead and move on to the next. The next one I'm going to give you is going to have some decimals, and we're going to use a similar technique. Let's go ahead and write it down. 2.5x minus 0.3 equals 1.2. Oops. Sorry about that. Equals 1.2. Okay. Again, I could make my chart and I could say, well, the first thing we have to do is multiply by 2.5, and then we're going to subtract 0.3, and we get this 1.2, and I can work my way back up doing this. And actually decimals maybe even seem a little bit more friendly than fractions, but it's not something I want to do, and I'm likely to make a mistake, especially if I'm going to try to do this without a calculator. So why not go ahead and multiply this entire equation by something that would remove the decimals. And to do that, we're going to multiply by a multiple of 10. In this case, I'm going to multiply by 10. If there were more decimal places, then I would multiply by 100 or perhaps even 1,000. So I'm going to multiply by 10. 2.5 times 10 gives me 25x, and then I will multiply the next one, and that gives me 3. And then I multiply by the last one, which gives me equal to 12. Then I can go ahead and use my methods. So I'm saying, all right, first thing we did was multiply by 25, then we subtracted 3, and we got a 12. Working my way up, I add 3, that gives me 15, and I can divide by 25, and that gives me 15 divided by 25, which reduces, if we divide them both by 5, to 3/5. You may leave your answer as a decimal or as a fraction because this particular fraction is a very simple terminating decimal of 0.6, and that would also be acceptable. All right, go ahead and rewind and take notes if you need to. Make any comments or ask any questions on Schoology's discussion board, and then give the entrance slip a try as well.